small percentage of what we call out-of-control youth. The federal justice minister and other provinces are giving this all due consideration. We believe it's not only important to lobby for change at the federal level, but to take action where we have jurisdiction. And Mr. Speaker, I believe this bill accomplishes that. I look forward to hearing comments from other members. So, Mr. Speaker, I move second reading.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Eastern Passage. Cole Harbour, Eastern Passage.
The late hour, I do have numerous comments to make on Bill number 47. I will move adjournment of debate on Bill number 147.
Thank you. We'll now recognize the. Yeah, I'll now. Thank you. I'll now recognize the leader, the House Leader of the Liberal Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, tomorrow, following the daily routine and question period, we'll be calling Bill number 149, the VLT Moratorium Act, and following that, resolution number 3051, which is the Cape Breton strike. I move that we do now adjourn to meet tomorrow at the 2 o'clock.
The motion is to adjourn till 2 p.m. tomorrow. All those in favour, is it agreed? Okay, all those in favour signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? We're adjourned till tomorrow. We'll now move into the late debate, and the topic for tonight has been put forward by the Honourable Member for Cape Breton South. Therefore, be it resolved that the Ham government has continued to neglect Nova Scotia's roads. I'll recognize the Honourable Member for Victoria the Lakes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when I was campaigning, people would ask me what were the 3 top subjects or the 3 top articles. Number 1 was roads, number 2 was roads, and number 3 were roads. Mr. Speaker, that was in a rural area. That was then, and this is now. What I'd like to do is reference some of the articles in a different part of the province from myself. An article written by Ron Goodall, Chairman of the Pictou County Highway 256 Improvement Committee. Attending a meeting of local citizens, the committee was established and with a mandate to urge the provincial government to repave Highway 256 from Pictou County line through to Scottsburn and Lyons Brook. Local residents are frustrated and angry. Newspaper article written by Sherry Martell for the Evening News. Route 256 and West Branch Road, 2 areas of the greatest concern to the residents. Chronicle Herald, drivers demand fix for crumbling Pictou Road. Monica Graham, we'd be better off driving on dirt roads, George Campbell of West Branch told a public meeting. I wish you would just rip it up and leave it to gravel. Again, another reference to Highway 256. Mr. Speaker, those articles are from different residents, all pertaining to roads. I'd refer now to an article that was put in the Cape Breton Post, and before we even launched the website. By the way, Madam Speaker, what I would like to interrupt myself right now to say that I intend to share my time with the colourful member from Digby Annapolis. Before launching our website, 75% of the calls that I receive in my office have been and still are pertaining to roads. If we have a rainstorm or a snowstorm, my office focuses the next 2 days complete on nothing but phone calls pertaining to the roads, simply because the potholes or the traction ruts, as I referred to them earlier today, can't be visible because of the snow and the water in them, and therefore people are calling up with broken rims and broken belts and tires. And as I stated myself, I have to drive, when you drive in Nova Scotia, on a lot of these rural roads you have to break the law. You either drive on the paved shoulder if there is one, and if not, you have to straddle the lanes to duck the potholes. If you stay in your old lane, Madam Speaker, then you wind up damaging your vehicle. And roads are an economic development tool for any part of the province. and especially in rural areas. I toured my riding with Barb Bailey, area manager for the Cape Breton section of Victoria the Lakes on Thursday. I toured the Victoria County section on Friday with Charles McDonald, area manager for the area of Victoria County, and trying to prioritize, and hopefully that we'll get some action on those roads. I refer to some facts and figures done by Ruth Blades, researcher for the Greater Halifax Partnership. These figures are the actual figures that were released through StatsCan, and the 2002-2003 figures are not available yet, but the 2001-2002, the actual motive fuel tax, the revenue for the year was $207,950,550. That's a lot of tax coming in, Madam Speaker. With that, I refer to now the rather, I would say, which appears to be a Disneyland drawing or reprint of a portion of the Cabot Trail. The Cabot Trail is actually that beautiful because I've traveled it several times. But the picture of the road and the beautifully painted white line. I've traveled the Cabot Trail with Mr. McDonald. You can hardly find a white line alone, a yellow line. They have a new policy that they paint the white line every 2 years on secondary roads. When they created that policy, they then went to latex paint, supposedly for environmental reasons, but really, Madam Speaker, it's a lot cheaper, and it has a road life of about 6 months. It's worn off completely, and I get calls continually saying, Gerald, it's the white line on the shoulder of the road that we follow when we're going home in the thick, heavy fog or bad rain. Don't drive that road when it's a clear moonlit night. Drive it when you can hardly see the hood of your vehicle with fog. And that is what the people north of Smoky travel and watch to keep away if there's any moose in the middle of the road or anything, but they know they're safe if they can follow the white line. And Madam Speaker, most places the white line is gone off. I now refer to, we're talking about the Cabot Trail here, the beautiful Cabot Trail. I want to focus on, it says March the 19th, the Cape Breton Post. Alistair MacLeod, President of Nova Scotia Chamber of Commerce. A lot of tourists come around to express their concern about the great appreciation of the scenery of the Cabot Trail. But they finish off by saying, we won't be back again because your roads are so deplorable. I look at the Minister of Tourism and the Minister of Energy, along with the gentleman who owns the Inverie Inn, proudly presenting there the $400,000 investment to enhance the look-offs on the Cabot Trail. Madam Speaker, if the roads are so, nobody's going to view these look-offs if they're going to damage their vehicle to get to them. And finally, Madam Speaker, in the Halifax Herald, April the 2nd, when they're talking about roads, this lady, Michelle Rogers of Riverside Road, she said, my husband travels extensively the eastern seaboard of the U.S., and many times she has heard the comment from our neighbors to the south, oh, we love your province, but they're terrible roads. I'm not saying and then to quote her, she's saying she would not ever want to revert to the dirt road, but at least the gravel portion sees a grader from time to time. And one final comment, Madam Speaker. In 2003, the Department of Transportation was going to issue a new temporary workplace traffic control manual. It was put off from 2003 to 2004, then it was put off, definitely it was going to be in 2005. Now it's not coming into effect till 2006. And this temporary closure of lanes right now, in order to fix a 5-minute pothole, it takes an hour to shut down a lane, 5 minutes to fix the pothole, and another hour to open the lane back up again. And we are waiting on the Department of Labor to let the Department of Transportation do their work. The workers are frustrated, and it's holding everything up. Madam Speaker, I don't want to go on too long, but like I said, I want to revert the rest of the time to my honourable member from Digby Annapolis.
The honourable member from Digby-Annapolis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I believe I only have about a minute left, and I don't want to start something that I can't finish. So I will hold this off for another time, but all I wanted to say is I can repeat just what my colleague has said anyway. In the Digby area, the road conditions are pretty poor. We have people down there that's hauling their own gravel onto their roads so they can get out of their driveways on the dirt roads, which is 1/3 of our roads in that area. We have 500 kilometers of road, and about 1/3 of them are mud roads. The cheap material has been put on them for the past few years because they said that it was cheaper to buy. It was because of the money wasn't there to do it. So I think we need to find a way to find more money for our roads. And it seems to be a problem with everything in this province is the lack of money. So anyway, I won't get into it tonight, but I got it on my mind. Thank you.
The honourable member from Pictou West.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm pleased to be able to rise to speak for a few minutes on rural roads, and the resolution reads, therefore it be resolved the Ham government has continued to neglect Nova Scotia's roads. And I think that's very, very true. Probably more true than it's ever been, because if you drive around rural Nova Scotia, you see just how terrible, how bad our secondary roads are. So it's no surprise that this resolution has come forward. And I recently had the opportunity to review a poll that was done by our party. It outlined a number of issues, and one of the questions that was asked was, what do you consider the number one issue that should be fixed outside of Metro, or in other words, in rural Nova Scotia? And was it health care, or was it education? No, it was rural roads. And 35% of the people in my region of the province, in the central Nova Scotia area, thought that the roads was the number one issue, almost twice as much as those people that thought health care was at the top of their list. So it clearly proves that it is the most important issue in rural Nova Scotia, and ahead of other issues that we feel are perhaps most important, like health care or education. And it's no surprise, because I get a lot of calls at my constituency office over and over about road maintenance and road snow clearing and road problems and dangers, and it's certainly a major issue. And I'm hearing words like atrocious and deplorable and unsatisfactory and broken, pothole, damaged, heaved. I guess the bottom line, Madam Chair, is that the roads are just unacceptable in this province. They've never been worse. And probably we have the worst roads in all of Canada. If you've done any driving across this country, you'll probably agree with that. I'll mention briefly some of the roads that I've had calls on and people are concerned from around the province. It would be roads like the Upper Clyde River Road in Shelburne County, the number 4 highway in Richmond County, Highway 223 in Cumberland County, and various roads on Cape Breton Island. But the roads I'm most familiar with, of course, the roads I'm hearing about every day in my particular riding, and that would include roads like the White Hill Road, the Green Hill Road, West Branch Road that I asked during question period, Highway 256 through Scottsburn and West Branch to the county line, the Scotch Hill Road, the River John Road, Abercrombie, and so on. There's just a lot of roads in Pictou West that are in very, very poor shape, and drive over them and you're going to do damage to your car, and that's a very major concern that we're hearing from people around the cost of maintaining their vehicles, for tires that all of a sudden blow when they hit a huge pothole, or mufflers or front end repair. So it's hurting local people. It's hurting our local economy when business people do not wish to expand or even come to an area because of the poor condition of the roads. And of course, we've all heard the stories about tourists that said they'll never be back to Nova Scotia because of the condition of our roads. I think there was a major story a couple of years ago about a bus tour company that wouldn't come to eastern Nova Scotia because of the very rough roads along the shore. And I can relate to that in my own riding. There's a tourism business. It's called Stoneham Chalets, run by the Gunn family. And there was a story in our local paper a short time ago about people saying that they'll never be back because they're complaining about the roads. And at first the operator thought it was the dirt road about a mile long from the highway into his chalets, but in actual fact it was the paved roads up through Durham and Scottsburn leading to the chalet business. So that's just another example of how it's hurting our local economy and it's hurting our tourism business as well. So there's lots of problems. We know the problem is that this government and previous governments have not addressed on an ongoing basis or keeping up with the road repair that's required. And actually we're falling farther behind. A few years ago the department put out a study on the roads in this province. It was Nova Scotia's primary and secondary highway systems, its 10-year needs, and identified that we have an infrastructure deficit of $3.5 billion in this province. And that was 4 years old, so I suspect it's even more than that today. But even if it is $3.5 billion, that's over a 10-year period would cost $350 million. And as we know, our department's budget is nowhere close to that, so obviously we're going even further behind in trying to catch up with the road maintenance that's necessary. In fact, when you look at our budget, back in the 90s, we were spending, and back into the 80s, we were spending somewhere around 10% of the provincial budget was on highways and roads and bridges in this province. And by the late 90s, that was down to about 4%. And I think today it's somewhere around 5%. So we're nowhere near the amount of investment that's required to maintain the roads in this province. So people are very, very concerned. They're certainly not happy with the state of the roads. And I think there's a groundswell of movement of people that are really putting pressure on their MLAs and putting pressure on government that want something done. And I know in my area, two examples I'm going to mention of community action. In the community of West Branch in Pictou County, a group has come together there. They've formed the West Branch Community Improvement Committee, and their primary objective is to see Highway 256 improved and made or put up to a decent standard. And they're letter writing, they've contacted the media, they've done a story on CBC television, they've contacted all the major dailies and weeklies in this area. They're continuing to meet on a regular basis. We had a public meeting in that community earlier this year with over 100 people. I presented a petition here on their behalf just yesterday with 621 names, and they're actively lobbying to get improvements to the roads. So there is a democratic process underway here where the community has come together to try to get something done about their roads. And the same thing is happening in River John. There's a strategic planning group there that are actively lobbying, I guess, the area manager. They're writing letters. They're writing letters to the minister. And I know both those community groups would love to have the minister come and visit the area and see the actual condition of the roads. And I'm putting that invitation out, Madam Speaker, to the minister to come to Pictou County and actually have a look at the roads, and so he'll know firsthand what they look like. Now, this is about the worst time of year, and if your schedule doesn't allow, but even later on in the summer, that would be welcome. To travel on the River John Road, the West Branch Road, the Highway 256, Scotch Hill Road, and so on, some of the very, very worst roads in our county. So my invitation, Mr. Minister, is to you to visit our area, and I'd be glad to show you around to look at some of those projects. I guess finally, I mentioned we know the problem, but what is the solution? Well, obviously the solution is more money, and I know it's always a battle within various departments to find enough money for everyone, and I know we need to lobby to get more money for the Department of Transportation and Public Works. But we also hope that when that is done, that it will be done in a fair and equitable manner, that all areas of this province would get the money that's needed to fix up their roads. And in other words, priorities would be set based on fairness and on some criteria that allow fairness. And it shouldn't matter where people live or how they vote or anything else. It should be based on the needs of the road, and the worst roads should be the ones that are fixed first. And I think that's makes common sense, and it's just asking for fairness. And the other thing I think that relates to that is that people should know when their road is going to be fixed, and there should be a public list available saying that this road is going to be done in 2005, and that road will be done in 2006 and 7 and 08 and so on. So that should be published, should be available to all, and based on criteria that is open and transparent, and people will know when the road repair is going to take place. So I guess my time is up, Madam Speaker, and I'll listen carefully to what the Minister has to say.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and it's indeed a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak about the transportation system in the province of Nova Scotia. Madam Speaker, I'm absolutely delighted that finally, the Liberals have seen the light and recognized the fact that we do have a problem with our highway system. And I'm glad that the NDP finally realized that there is a solution, but it entails spending more money on highways. And having to accept the fact that if you're going to spend more money on transportation, you're going to have to take it, folks, from somewhere else. You know, we talk about health, and we talk about giving more money to health. We talk about education, and we talk about giving more money to education. Madam Speaker, more money doesn't make for a better education system. It may help some. And more money doesn't make for a better health care system. It might help some. But more money, I can guarantee you, will make for a better transportation system. We need more money in the system to have a better transportation system. To give you some indication, Madam Speaker, earlier today in question period, I was perhaps a little sharp in some of my responses, but it makes me angry, genuinely angry, for people to say, my road is falling apart, why don't you fix it? Well, the problem is we are fixing roads, we are fixing bridges, we are fixing culverts, and we are fixing every facet of the transportation system across this province. But the problem is immense, as the honourable member just said a few moments ago. We had a deficit of $3.5 billion in the transportation system. That was 4 or 5 years ago. Today, that number is probably about $5 billion. It's a tremendous amount of money required to bring our transportation system up. Now, the first part of curing that problem, Madam Speaker, is, and I know everybody says, well, you always blame the feds. Well, we are going to blame the feds. The feds take from this province every year $145 million in motor fuel taxes. We in the province take out something like about $200 and some odd million, but we put more than that back into the system. The feds take out $145 million, and on average, over the years, we get maybe $3, $4, or $5 million of that back to assist with the national highway system. The federal government has got to accept the fact that the transportation system in all provinces has got to be improved. Because if we cannot transport our goods out and bring our goods in, Madam Speaker, we don't have an economy anymore. We're not the worst province. The honourable member said that we're the worst in Canada. That's not true. We're not good. I grant you that. And there are provinces that are better, but there are some provinces that are worse off than we are. Madam Speaker, I'd like to have the federal government provide to the provinces on some kind of equitable basis, either the number of kilometers of highway that you have, or the number of bridges, or the population, or something, every year a percentage of that gas tax that they take out, so we can have an ongoing program in this province to bring our highways up to speed. I've said this before in the House, and I don't know if it crystallized with everybody in the House, but the federal government now is saying, well, not to worry, because we're going to give billions of dollars to the municipalities for infrastructure, which will include roads and bridges. Now, Madam Speaker, that is absolute nonsense in this province. In this province, 90% of the roads and all of the bridges are the responsibility for repair, maintenance, and construction of the Department of Transportation in this province. You go to Ontario, and guess what? The province of Ontario only looks after 10%, and 90% are looked after by the municipalities. Therefore, that infrastructure program is going to work in Ontario, but as sure as heavens isn't going to work in the province of Nova Scotia or the province of New Brunswick or most of the western provinces. So that's not the answer. But the Federal Department of Transportation, I just got a letter today from the Honourable Minister of Transportation. I wrote him a letter raising the issue again with him about getting some transportation money into this province, into the hands of the people who can put it onto the roads. And he comes back with a letter that says, well, we are doing that. We are going to provide to the municipality. Well, good Lord, I mean, how many times do you have to stand up and draw pictures for somebody to understand something? That's one of the solutions that we have to improving the highway system, and that is getting more federal participation into the highway system. But there are other things we can do too, Madam Speaker, and we have to be spending our money perhaps more smartly, and we're trying to do that. But we do have a problem. Whereas 3 or 4 years ago, you could get a kilometer of road paved for approximately 95, 100, 105, somewhere in that area, dollars per kilometer. Today, in fact, just yesterday, I was at a capital meeting in my department, and the cost now is $175,000 per kilometer. So $1 million is not very much. We've got an additional $30 million this year in capital, which sounds like a lot of money. In fact, that's almost the entire budget that the former administration devoted to the capital. We got that extra this year. But it's not going to solve the problem because inflation, the cost of personnel, the cost of material, the cost of trucks, everything has increased. So we're having a hard time at even keeping up with the amount of work that we have to do on the highways. I wish, Madam Speaker, I had more time to talk about this, because there's so many things I'd like to talk to you about. I'd like to talk to you about bridges. The fact that we have 200 bridges in this province. 200 of the old steel truss bridges. These were bridges that was bought out of a catalog, like an Eaton's catalog. There used to be salesmen used to wander around the countryside selling bridges. And you bought a bridge. You want a bridge 10 feet long, you want a bridge 50 feet long, you look in the catalog and there's a bridge. And they ship it up to you, and it's like an old Meccano set. You bolt it all together and you got a bridge. That's their old steel truss bridges. But they were built for horse and carriage. They were built so that 2 horses and a cart of a load of hay could traverse across a river. And they had a piece across the top which held the sides together. An 18-wheeler goes through there right now, would take that top bar out, and you have no bridge. But we have 200 of those bridges which have to be replaced. How much was that going to cost? About $350 million. We haven't got that amount of money. So we've got to be smart. We've got to try and do things to accommodate our needs and with the money that we have. How are we doing that? Well, fortunately, we have in this province, for instance, a firm which has just come up with a brand new idea for bridges. It's I suppose I shouldn't be advertising the name of any company, but there is a company that's come forward, and they have a bridge that's similar to a truss bridge, but the truss is under the bridge, and it's a truss under the bridge, and the platform sits on top. It's made of the decking is wood, but it's coated wood. It's coated in fiberglass, so it should last for years and years and years, and it's cheap, and so that you can lift the old bridge off and take this along and dump it on top of the abutments, and there you have your brand new bridge. The cost is quite good, and it's, that kind of a bridge is going to help solve some of our problems. We're changing over to concrete in some instances. Now, concrete costs us more, but concrete costs us less in the long run because concrete doesn't pothole. The honourable member from Pictou West was saying that, you know, the spring and we got potholes, and that's true, we do. And I don't want to be facetious about it, but it happens everywhere. But it doesn't happen with concrete. Concrete cracks sometimes, and you may have to do a repair, etc. But concrete doesn't come out in a big chunk like you get from spiking under an asphalt road. So these are things we can do to help us maintain and preserve our highway system. But for heaven's sakes, let's make a concerted effort to say we've got to have more money in transportation, and we're going to have to take that money from somewhere else, and so be it. If it has to be from health or from education or from community services or somewhere else, it's going to happen. Because we do have to have good highway system. It's no use having a hospital down the road if you can't get there. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Late debate has ended, and the House will rise and meet tomorrow at 2 o'clock.